All right, I'm back again. Technology. So let's try this again. Hopefully, those of you who were on, and had to, I were kicked off. I do apologize. My internet was acting up. So I'm going to take a moment to set up everything. And as I do that, enjoy this little piece here called I think it's on the way to. I'm not even sure where this is on the way to. Actually, let me see if it says. The song is called "On the Way to the Market." On the Way to the Market by Dialgo. Let me go ahead and see if I can get Facebook working again. I'm gonna reboot this, take it back to the beginning. Let's see what I have here. And no, it's not. Come on now. Let's try this one. Yes, we're on Facebook. Now let's go for LinkedIn. Are we back on LinkedIn? Man, I'm telling you, technology is a trip. As soon as you think you got it figured out, then you realize you don't. But it's all good. That's the beauty of being, more mature and older. This stuff like this doesn't really upset me. I just accept it as just part of anything that you do, any endeavor. There's always going to be hiccups, so we don't stress about those things. So let's see Twitter. How are we doing on Twitter? And I see my face. Let's go to Twitter, and we're on Twitter. And then, of course, Facebook. We're going to do one try here, and I'm sure it's going to work. One shot only and one shot alone. Online. And nope, that's not it. Go to the next one. And yes, I'm everywhere again. And let's go ahead and go back into this space right here. My camera's a little blurry. Okay, here we go. Back in focus. It's blurry. It's out of focus. Good evening again. Round two. What do I say? Guys, listen. One of the things I learned a long time ago, and just in life in general, is no matter how much you plan, most of the time there will be things that will happen. Even in the best planned situation, it might be something really, really small that you didn't plan for, or you just couldn't have anticipated, or it could be something completely huge that forces you to throw out your whole entire plan, out the window. That's that saying, man plans and God laughs. It is what it is. But at the same time, I'm not upset. I literally got upstairs. I got up, went downstairs to and reset the internet. And it is what it is. This is probably the third time in all, now I can say years of creating content and going live, that I've ever had the internet just cut out on me. Unfortunately, the last time it happened was like a couple weeks ago. But it is what it is. What can we do about that? But again, I want to thank you all that. First of all, I apologize for those of you who are like, what just happened? And thank you again for those of you who jumped back on again. And I'm going to take down a little bit of this, Afrobeat music in the background. I'm going to keep it as inspiration. Hopefully you like it. If you don't, let me know in the comments. I got to be honest with you. I do see the comments on YouTube. I believe I see the comments on Facebook as well, right on my system here that I use, Ecamm Live. But I'm really not reading the comments in LinkedIn and Twitter because it's a lot to do all at once. But if you jump on Facebook to Uche Lawrence and Joku, I believe is that my. I be forgetting sometimes what my screen name is. Or is it the Sneaker Principal? I think it might just be Sneaker Principal. I'm checking right now. Yeah, if you go on YouTube, the Sneaker Principal. I've gone back and forth between Uche L and Joku and the Sneaker Principal, trying to figure out which is the best way to brand myself. But I just had to check on YouTube. It is the Sneaker Principal. If you go on there, you can watch live there as well and be able to leave comments, and I'll be able to see them there. But let's see, what am I doing here? But outside of that, let's just go ahead and get into this episode. As I was saying before, everything kind of went haywire. Let me actually, I'm going to stop the music. That's one thing about African music. Sometimes you just can't be sure what's going to come out next. So the rhythm of it can kind of like mess with your brain as you're trying to think. I'm one of those people. If like sudden shifts in atmosphere, that really messes with my train of thought. But it's all good. So, what was I saying? I was talking about reflecting this time of the year, and it's very interesting how we as a planet, if you're in a world that has this Gregorian calendar, January through December, we are in these constant time loops, right? Where we get into these ebbs and flows of emotions, especially at the end of the year. We start to reflect and start to think back, and we start thinking about all the things we messed up and all the things that we could have done better and all the things that went wrong and some of the things that went right. It just becomes this emotional turmoil, right? And the reason I'm saying this is that for the past couple of days, I've definitely been in that space. Actually, not even the past couple of days. I have to say in the past couple of months. And for me, it starts around August. Because from August, you're entering your school year, and because my life for the past 18 years has revolved around a school calendar. August is when things start up again, and we kind of like right all the way through June, and then we have the summer months, and that's been my calendar. But the thing that sucks about that is you end up having that emotional spike of like the new school year and everything that goes through that, then the Christmas break, and then the Christmas break or winter recess. They come back in January, and we ramp up to state exams, and then we wash out we wash out with exhaustion in June, right? But then what sucks is that we do the same thing with the regular calendar, January through December. So at the same time that you're, at this like spike of stress and emotions, for the school year calendar, it's also you're also in that like downward spiral. Is the end of the year. You start to reflect, ask yourself, what did I do right? What did I not do? Did I accomplish things? Do I have enough money for Christmas presents? Or am I going to be able to travel? All these things that are happening in your brain. And they start asking yourself, oh my God, another year just passed. It happened so quickly. Where did the time go? All these things are things that we battle with, right? So for me, this year has been that year of like, okay, August came, but this year with my August, it wasn't the beginning of a school year. It was the beginning of a new life. Because around August, that's when I announced that I was leaving the thing that I've done for the better part of 18 years, better part of 20 years, as a public school educator, and then of course as a school leader, as a principal, and from there it just it was kind of like this, not spiral, but it's kind of like a cyclone and tornado and hurricane all at the same time of these changes, right? And here we are, or here I am now. It is December 30th. And within another hour and a half? Yeah, hour and a half. We'll be entering the 31st, which is New Year's Eve, where a lot of us start to like really panic. Let's call it what it is. A lot of you out there are start to panic. It's a silent panic. It's a self-controlled, internalized panic. But you start to panic. And you go through these ebbs and flows of just emotional stress and these stresses and emotional turmoil because you're asking yourself, did I do enough? And then you fall into this space of now trying to resolute what you'll be doing next year. Come up with these New Year resolutions, right? I'm going to lose weight. I'm gonna get a better job. I'm finally gonna buy that house. I'm finally gonna ask that woman to, for her number. I'm going to finally tell him how I feel. Like all these things you go through, or I'm gonna be a better parent. Like all these things, and I wonder whether or not we're being socially wonder whether or not we're part of this like weird, like time, like Twilight Zone, social experiment of stress and emotions. Because again, we go through this every single year. What happened before this calendar? What happened in the possible in the world before there was this calendar and all these things now planted into these calendars to make us feel, and act in ways that are counterproductive to who we are as human beings. We lose our minds and our bank accounts in the month of December with presents. Then we get to New Year's Eve, and now we're psyching ourselves up to go into a new year and try to be a better person or a better version of ourselves, right? And then we plateau, and then we go through the normal struggles of the year, and then we come back to December and we do it all over again, year after year after year after year. So this is what I'm saying. At least I'm going to share with you what's been in my mind. As you know from the title of this episode, if you saw the title, 2022 finale, and then ... enacting purpose. Listen, I'm not a preacher. I'm not a motivational speaker. Strangely enough, at one point in time in my life, I wanted to be both. But I'm neither of those two things. I am a man who's lived a life rich in experiences. I've done a lot of things, and I've done a lot of things, good and bad, great and not so great, and all through these experiences I've learned, But one of the things that I think would have done me better in my development from childhood into adulthood and even through adulthood is time spent on purpose, being purposeful, and not just moving because the tide of society, the tide of life pushes you forward, but actually sailing through those tides. I don't want to use too many metaphors and start sounding philosophical, but that's what's coming to my mind right now. It's just like standing at the shore of land and ocean, right? And you see the water come in and out. And some days it's just so tranquil, it just flows in and goes out. Then there are those days where the water is a little bit more rough, but it's kind of beautiful. The white foam of the waves crashing onto the shoreline, right? And you kind of run into the one, run out, and it's like, wow, this is kind of fun. And maybe you might grab your boogie board, or for those of us who are not surfers, you grab your boogie board. You probably try and catch one of those little foamy waves that just kind of like ride you onto the shore, and you're having fun. But if you've ever lived by the water, there are those days when the weather, Mother Nature, we're talking about those dark clouds, the wind is blowing, and the ocean looks like it will swallow you up. That's what life is. The tranquil waters, the fun waters, a little dangerous but still fun. Then like I gotta get away from the water, And this is how life is. And too often we're stuck on the shore. We enjoy what it looks like when it comes in and it's all cool or warm and everything is tranquil. Then we might get a little bit nervous, but then we get used to it when things are a little bit more rough, but it's not that bad, right? We know when you go to that phase of life, it's not that bad. But then you have the storms. I spent a year living in Malibu in California, and I lived right on the. I literally lived. I lived in a guest house, on a beach house right on the water. Big ups and much respect. Rest in peace to Michael Silverman. He was the owner of the property. I was working for him, and I remember many nights when it was storming outside, and it's funny how, the part of the beach, the part of the Malibu we lived in, this is private, multi-million-dollar estates and properties on the water, right? So and and you didn't have all the light pollutions that you have from LA. If anything, you could see LA, but where we were, all you saw was just the darkness of the ocean, and right behind you was the mountains. So you're sandwiched between the mountains and the ocean, and it was a different kind of darkness. It was like a looking into an abyss. Have you ever looked into a darkness that was just so vast that it made you feel nervous? Like you felt like that darkness could swallow you, that could literally just inhale you in, and you would cease to exist. I know this might sound a little dramatic, but this is what it felt like. And I thought it was always beautiful. I would stand on the deck and just stand there, and you hear the water whoosh, crashing in and out, right? But now, what I just described to you made me nervous, but after a while, you got used to it. And you're like, okay, this is kind of beautiful. But every time I would have friends who would come over, they would always say the same thing, like, yo, this is a trip. I've never felt the ocean like this before. Just that energy of that darkness that's before you. You can see the white from the water coming onto the shoreline, but everything beyond that was just dark. Especially when you had like those dark nights with no moon out, it was just crazy. But now, when you had storms, my God, from the deck to on a typical day to the waterline, was maybe honestly, about 40 feet. About 40 yards. About 40, 40 yards makes more sense. So I would say about 35 to 40 yards was the distance between the edge of the deck and the water. So we're talking about it was all sand. About 45, maybe I'm about to say about 40, 45. All sand, then water, okay? On stormy nights, when the weather was doing its own thing, I've seen the ocean literally crash onto the deck. Like all of a sudden you felt like you were on a boat. And you're like, what happened to all that sand? How did the water all of a sudden become so powerful that it's literally crashing onto the deck, knocking over the deck furniture, right? Like you would have to like take down the umbrellas, the umbrellas and tie them up and put them down, because if not, they would literally fly away. Like it was just crazy, like the power of the ocean. That is life. And what do we do through all that? We stand there, or we try to run away, we try to take cover. And that's because we have not been trained. Some people have been blessed with this ability, but most of us have not been trained or taught about purpose. Like, what is your purpose? Because if you have a very clear understanding of your purpose, so guess what happens now? Whether it's tranquil waters or rough waters or just destructive waters, if you're able to sail, you will survive any of that. If anything, you probably get further in life through the worst of storms much faster, because there's so much more wind. And if you're an expert sailor, you can navigate the waters and get to where you're supposed to get to. But you have to know what your purpose is. And that's the thing that I've been really asking myself. What is my purpose? What is the thing that I believe that I do, if not excellently, well enough, that impacts other people in such a manner that it brings something good into their lives or to society? I'm not talking about passion. Not talking about passion. But the thing with passion is this. Passion is that flame. This is what passion is. But passion, since I'm using all this beach metaphor, living in California, all those many moons ago, we would go to the beach, teenagers, and we would have a little bonfires on the beach, right? Or not bonfires, but bonfires are huge or whatever. I've been to a couple of those, but I'm talking about just a couple of intimate friends. We would have our little fire on the beach, right? Some stones, some wood, and we're sitting there, cool evening on the fire. That's passion. It's warm, it's beautiful, and and you could do so much with that passion, right? You could roast some marshmallows, some hot dogs. You know what I'm saying? If you have, I was a Boy Scout too, so if you have your water kettle, you can make some tea, some cocoa. There's so much you can do with that fire, right? But how long does that fire last for? How long does passion truly last for? Think about it. Throughout your life, okay, I'm not talking about love. I'm talking about passion. Something that you were so just driven by. Like you were just like 24/7, all through, like every day, that you can't stop thinking about that, and that's all you do. If you really think about it, it's not as common as you think. In most cases, it doesn't even exist. You find something, you get into it. It might be for a season, it might be for multiple seasons, but eventually it will die out. That's the with passion. You meet that person and you're like, oh my God, I'm in love and all that. You might marry them. You might be with them for 20, 30 years. And if you're fortunate, that passion that ignited everything becomes a strong love that keeps everything together. Your hobbies, the things that you enjoy, literature, art, sports, whatever it may be. I remember when I was younger and I discovered that I was pretty decent at football. What did I do? I put everything into it. I was 13, 14, the gym. I was in there like throwing weights up and doing everything I can do to get bigger and stronger because I was passionate about football. Got to college and I discovered other things. Other things that really sparked my interest, right? And football, even though I loved it, I just wasn't passionate about it anymore. The season had passed. The season when it was fun, and that was the only thing that caught my eye. It had my attention was football. I got to college, and I found I had a voice and activism and learning, and all these things that I got into in college. And, I played my freshman year. Sophomore year was okay, and by junior year, I was like, this is a chore. So that's the thing about passion. Passion often forces you to think that this thing is your purpose. But passion and purpose are two different things. Purpose is just that thing that no matter how much you want to say that, this is the thing about a purpose. Often, your purpose is something that you don't even like. Often, purpose is something that you don't even like. It's just that you're good at it. I know so many people who, the thing that they're great at, they'll tell you, man, like, I'm just good at it. It's not, if I had my way, I wouldn't be doing this, but this is something that I'm really good at. I'm really skilled at. It's like a gift. Purpose, gift, synonymous, right? And that's the thing. Coming through close of this year and going into next year, and I want to move that whole year thing out of the language, coming out of this season and going to the next seasons, no matter how long those seasons are. I want mine to be driven to be anchored in purpose. I know that I am a skilled teacher. I know that I am a decent writer. I know that I'm a okay speaker. I know that that my major in film and media studies and Africana studies in college, even though, I've used over the course of my life since college, I've used a small fraction of those skills professionally, but those skills have come into play in this space here, right? Because again, in 1990s, if you told me I'd be sitting here in front of a mic, and a camera, which I set myself and connected on all this, production wise, I would say no. I was a film studies major. I was all about the critical analysis of film and how it impacts society, and how it can really, direct our future as a human race, media. I wasn't thinking like I would be doing this, but I am. you know. But then what am I doing here other than connecting to a skill set that I developed or I discovered really because I needed a job and I applied to be a substitute teacher, not knowing that it would lead me towards a career in education all the way. Like, come on now, from trying to be a substitute teacher to being a principal of a middle school and then a high school in the Bronx in Brooklyn, in New York City, the largest school system in America. Then not only that, the awards and the recognitions that I received over the course of my career. Mind you, I just needed a job as a substitute teacher, and this is where, that's where it took me. In the midst of all that, I discovered I had skills that I didn't even realize or never really acknowledged that I had. You know, listen, my first day in front of a classroom, I stuttered my way through that first introduction. I was so scared and so nervous, and I was I've always been a stutterer, but as a child, I was a chronic stutterer. And it's funny because even right now, as I'm speaking to you, it's weird because I'm like, can I even say I'm a stutterer? I do stumble my words sometimes. Sometimes I do mispronounce words. I am African. There are certain words, even though my diction and my speech pattern fools a lot of people to believing that I am, not African. But this is something that I developed over time, as part of my ability to be in front of people and speak to children, speak to parents, speak to colleagues, do interviews on camera and for print, all these things. And again, these were not passions of mine. These were, just skills that kind of come together into me recognizing them as gifts. They were just enhanced by circumstance, right? So you might be listening to me right now saying, okay, what is he talking about? What is the purpose of this? What do you mean by enacting purpose? We have to go into this next season, this new season, or even it might be a continuation of your season. But this thing, space, time, whatever we call it, 2023, has to be driven by purpose. What is the thing that you have that like, damn, I'm actually really good at this. Like no cap. Like, I'm not even tooting my own horn. Like, I'm really good at this. And if you know what that thing is, the question now is, how do you make that the driving force of your existence? Whether it is in making life better for yourself through finances and jobs or whatever the case may be, or just making your contribution to society to make this easier for other people. We don't have enough time being spent talking about purpose. Because I really believe if we all lived in our purpose, the world will be so much better. And it's funny because recently I saw a what was it? A snippet of an interview from Joe Rogan, and I forget the gentleman he was Naval. I think was it Naval? He was interviewing. I might be wrong about that, but he was talking about the future of the world and how we all, if schools taught everyone how to code and everyone how to be more tech savvy, that we would pretty much reach like utopia, sooner than we know it. And it was interesting because I was like, what does he mean by that? And he was like, listen, if we all could code and we all were like skilled in tech, in science, right? But he said the thing about coding is this: coding allows you to take an idea and put it into technology, into software, right? If we all had the ability, so whether it's like, listen, I want to be able to take all my recipes and create an app, that app goes searches the internet and pulls other recipes to kind of like take my recipe and make it better, So imagine if grandma can do that. Imagine if you could create an app for whatever you want in the world or create any kind of tech. He said at some point in time, humanity would reach a point where we would perfect artificial intelligence. We would be able to have technology now do for us what we've been doing, and then free us up all the time to really now tap into things that truly interest us, things that we can truly enact that might not necessarily be code-driven or tech-driven, that allows us to make life better. And I thought about that. I was like, that's interesting, because if we lived in a world where you didn't have to work, right? Like I'm talking about, you didn't have to work, you didn't have to get up to go to a job, and then technology and everything else was working in a way that made all of humanity able to spend time just exploring interests, and building upon the gifts. We will live in a world where art will be better, the music will be better, the writings will be better, the collaborations of nations and everybody else to just create a space where we can all just live, right? Of course, this is fantasy, right? To a certain extent. But I thought that was interesting. A world where everyone lived in their purpose. What would that look like? Well, for me, I'm coming out of this year, and entering this, or coming out this season. Right? But for me, it is the close. It's truly the end of a season. I recognize that coming after tomorrow, I'm walking into a new space intentionally, where I am focusing on enacting my purpose, making sure I am putting into play the things that I know I am gifted at, that I shy away from putting into effect for a myriad of reasons. There's so many reasons why we don't really push ourselves. But I'm asking you, if you're listening to me, to push yourself, to step out of your comfort zone and really walk into a space, into a state of being where you're saying, listen, if you are just good at drawing stick figures, your stick figures are better than the typical stick figures, and people are just like, damn, how do you draw your stick figures like that? Then start drawing your stick figures with intention. Put together a children's book of stick figures. Enhance your stick figures to fulfill a message, whatever it is. But we have to start really tapping into those things that we're good at. Some people can sing, some people are good at math, some people are phenomenal cooks. Some people are just good at just tying a bow tie. I don't know what it is, but I know for a fact that we all have this thing that's innately in us. For a lot of us, it scares us. For some of us, we don't even see it. We don't recognize it. We just think it's just normal. But you have to tap into your purpose. Let's go into this new season purpose-driven. Purpose-driven. No matter what that purpose is, pursue it, enhance it, develop it, so that you can really see what was your intention, what was the intention of the creator of putting on this planet. I refuse to believe that we're all accidents. I refuse to do that. I refuse to believe that. Because I've seen way too much in my lifetime. There's been way too many coincidences that made no sense that happened. I'm just like, wait a minute. How did that happen? Like, there's no correlation between my thoughts or my actions over here and me walking to this space and seeing this here. And this thing here now moved me forward in ways I didn't expect. People are saying, oh, it's just luck. I don't believe in that. But if that's the case, then we should all be lucky, right? We should all be flowing in that energy. But we're not all. And the thing is, when it happens, at least when it happens for me, I'm always like, wait a minute, what? What just happened right now? Because I'm not even living in the space of intentionality, expecting that thing to happen. Which tells me that there's a map, there's a journey that we're all on, that if we pay closer attention to, we see those things happening. We see those paths. And sometimes those paths are going to take us through a shoreline of tranquil water that goes back and forth and just beautiful. It might be cool, it might be warm, like the waters of Puerto Rico or the waters of the Cayman Islands. Like it could be something as soft as that. But then also it could be crashing. It could be water that's coming in. That might make you nervous, but it's not going to hurt you. But it's like a little rough, but fun at the same time, right? And then there's the storms. That's just simply terrifying. But like I said earlier, if we move with purpose, then we're sailing through all of that. The quiet, the rough, and the downright scary. If we move with purpose, we're sailing. If you're sailing, the thing about sailing, you don't sail in circles. You sail with an end point in mind, in a destination. And that's where our purpose is driving us. I hope that this made sense to someone out there. Okay, for all I know, nobody might hear this, or maybe one person might hear this and be like, interesting. But again, I have to say that I have a feeling that we're entering a season, as just humanity-wise, people-wise, all of us, that's going to be a lot of things that we don't see coming. A lot of things that we don't see coming. But I think that what's going to be our saving grace is purpose. If we all live in our purpose, and really enhance ourselves to be more skilled in the way we wield our gifts and the way we intentionally live lives of purpose, I think that is what's going to bring us grace and allow us as a human race to move forward. I don't know about you. I felt like for the past decade or so we've been moving in slow motion. It's like almost like we're stuck in quicksand and we're struggling to move forward, right? But we're just slowly sinking. I feel like we're about to enter a season where all of a sudden we're going to be on dry land again. But there's going to be water at our feet. Calm and tranquil, rough but fun, and downright scary. But through all of that, we have to sail. We have to get in our boats, put down our sails, and let the wind move us forward. But the way we move the sail to exact direction, that's the purpose. That's the driving factor in where we're going. All right, y'all. This is my last word for the 2022. The finale for this season, metaphorically and physically. And I look forward to speaking to you Sunday night in the new year. Wow, Sunday night is actually going to be New Year's. So I look forward to that to talking to you then, and hopefully I'll have more insight to our continuation to this talk. All right. So with that being said, have an amazing night. Let's go out here with some more music here. And let me see, who is this actually? This is I didn't want to play that one. This is Anthony Vega, Joy in Africa. So again, thank you so much. Have an amazing night, and get your dance on, laugh, enjoy, end 2022, with peace in your heart, and enter 2023 with an amazing focus and ambition towards living your best life. All right? Be well, y'all.